On Shabbos, is one allowed to wear a face mask in a place with no Eruv?
It is my understanding, halachically, that it's extremely questionable for one to walk outside on Shabbos afternoon to take a stroll wearing a facial mask. Obviously, when we're talking about Hatzalah members or people in the medical field who are saving lives, then they're allowed to do anything that's required to protect themselves and to protect others. But for the average person, it would seem highly questionable halachically, as it may run the problem of carrying on Shabbos. The major issues that one has to focus on is whether or not a facial mask is considered a full-fledged garment, or what halacha defines as a tachshit. The problem is that there is, based off the criteria that halacha gives for what's considered a garment and a tachshit, a mask doesn't seem to fall under that category, any of those categories. A regular garment, halacha defines as being a material that's sort of soft and is usually made into a garment. It's also worn as a garment, and people usually wear it, whether inside or outside, as a garment. In the case of a face mask, most people do not wear face masks. A lot of times it's actually made of a material that's not really garmenty material. To argue that there is certain countries in the world that people do usually wear face masks, halacha will define the custom based on the place you're living, and the custom is in our neighborhoods not to go around wearing masks in general. Gloves, on the other hand, would be considered a garment because people do wear gloves, whether in extreme cold or even in the home. People sometimes wear gloves, regular gloves, or surgical gloves, or baking gloves, etc. And there the considerations will only be to make sure that they don't fall off. And therefore, if you have a glove that's tightly fastened on the hands, there shouldn't be any problem. As far as it being a tachshit, the criteria halachically of a tachshit, there's many different types of tachshitin, but for our purposes, there is definitely room in halacha that describes that one who is concerned about germs or protecting themselves from discomfort and so on and so forth could wear certain materials to protect themselves, but that is when those materials are actually functioning as a protection of the person's body. The studies about the average masks that are worn on the streets today are not suggestive of it being protective at all. They don't prevent the droplets from passing through these masks, and therefore it wouldn't seem to be a tachshit as a protective garment either. In addition to all that, you're running a very high risk of coming to carrying, because masks in general are highly uncomfortable, which in itself would suggest they're not really a garment. And the people try to avoid wearing them, and people will perhaps take them off too early before they come into their house and carry it into the house, or put them on only after they left their house. Likewise, it's possible that people, as they're walking on the street and meet their friend and they want to talk, they'll lower the masks and it'll be dangling, so to speak, over the ears, below the chin, which is definitely a problem of carrying, especially if they keep on walking together in such a manner. So for all of these concerns, and we should mention the fact that the government is suggesting people stay at home. So if we're really concerned about the safety over here, then it probably is better to be at home than going outside in general. Where masks would be of help, perhaps, is in stores and very crowded places. But the average walking down the street on a Shabbos afternoon, you don't really run into that type of risk. And therefore, the likelihood of even need a mask is sort of questionable to begin with. With all that said, this is my personal opinion, and one should ask their local Rav and get a psak halacha. I do want to say that in a scenario of a person who really needs to go outside for their mental health, for their ability to, or their physical health or whatever, then there is room, if it's not a full-fledged Rosh Hashanah area, it's only a Carmelist midrabanon. There's such a thing as b'makom tsar legozur chachamim, that under great need, the Rabbanon waived their restrictions, and in this case, perhaps wearing the mask would be okay. If anybody wants to discuss this matter further with me, feel free to email me at mendelz775@gmail.com.